Hello and welcome back to the AMIQ channel, and today we are doing the Nature of Ayahuasca documentary. I'm assuming this is about the psychedelic. If it's about something else, I don't know, but I think it's about that, and I believe it's kind of fitting to the August conspiracy event that we have on the channel. Because there is a conspiracy that says that some people use psychedelics to tune into this higher frequency, to talk to these higher intelligent beings. There's a whole concept which we need to discuss. But yeah, that's the basic of it, that not we, but some people use psychedelics to talk to these interdimensional beings, which give them knowledge, wisdom on how to, live, I guess. With some psychedelics, most people see a similar vision. So some people believe that psychedelics are a way to see into this other dimension and speak to these other beings and stuff. So yeah, that's the whole theory. But this one is just about ayahuasca, I think. Just one psychedelic and what it is. The Nature of Ayahuasca 2019 documentary. This is from channel Gave Hoff. So yeah, subscribe, like the video. I think this will be a good documentary just the way it's starting out, like very cinematic.
Why has the world become so fascinated with ayahuasca? Very good question. My name is Howard Lawler. I grew up in the rural areas of Kentucky in North America. My interest in shamanism began very early in my life as a child. My grandmother was a renowned healer and was known in those parts as a Kentucky root doctor. Of course, when I was a child, I had no knowledge of shamanism per se, but my grandmother would tell me stories of how she learned about medicinal plants from her grandmother, who was a full-blood Cherokee Shawnee Native American. So that inspired a keen interest in Native American culture. The first sacred plant that I came in contact with was peyote in the Native American church tradition. That's where I began my practice and my relationship with the sacred plants. In the early 90s, I had the opportunity to come to Peru, and that opened a door to engage another modality of core shamanism, which is the Amazonian practices involving ayahuasca. My first mission in my connection with ayahuasca was actually for my own personal healing of acute chronic depression, which I'd fallen into a few years prior to that period of time, which produced amazing results, essentially healing my depression in a course of just a few ceremonies. And through that, I saw the huge potential of this to help a lot of people. So in 1995,
I think there are multiple studies which also show that psychedelics do have a very positive effect on mental health issues. So yeah, this is not all garbage that he's talking. It's actually backed by some scientific studies. And another thing, but I forgot what I was going to say. I had something, but it's gone from my brain. Yeah, I was going to say that I am from India, so we have Ayurveda, which is not psychedelics or anything. It it is a what's it called? Um, a medicine system of medicine. That's the right way to say it. System of medicine, very old, very ancient. I'm very interested in it. I have seen some of the Ayurvedic herbs and their effects on like your brain, your mental health, physical. I haven't tried anything for my physical health yet, from Ayurveda, but I have tried ashwagandha, which is for anxiety and stress relief. Bruh, it works incredible. I'm not currently on ashwagandha, but I did take it for 2 months straight, like a couple of months ago, and it was good. Like, you know, that subconscious anxiety which you have for no reason, ashwagandha directly hits it and it just goes away. Then, because that subconscious anxiety is gone, you have more brain power to think about the actual stress that you have in your life. So yeah, that was a great experience for me. So yeah, I'm very interested in what he's about to say about ayahuasca and its healing effects. Obviously, I'm not directly going to go for a psychedelic healing thing, but yeah, this will be interesting.
I established the Ayahuasca Spirit Quest Healing and Higher Consciousness program here in the Amazon. It was at that time one of only 3 organized opportunities for that kind of connection available here. The topic of ayahuasca has unfolded dramatically, exponentially indeed, in the past 5 to 10 years. Prior to that, there was a very small base of interest in esoteric circles, but generally it was unknown to the Western world.
I like the way it's short so far. That's entertaining. Ayahuasca is made from a giant woody liana. I need to read this. Wait. Ayahuasca is made from a giant woody liana vine called ayahuasca, which is usually combined with one or more other plants, most notably cacruna leaves. When brewed together, they create a tea with powerful psychedelic or entheogenic effects. I don't know what entheogenic means, but I know what psychedelic means. An entheogen is a psychoactive substance that generates the divine within, used in a spiritual, shamanic, or religious context. The divine within, okay. I have no experience with this, so I can't really imagine what the divine within me would be. It's 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 not very relatable, I guess. But yeah, it is interesting though. In January 2016, a group of people went to the Spirit Sanctuary to participate in a retreat, which consisted of 5 ayahuasca ceremonies. Okay. This is that journey. Alright. Peru. Is this Argentina or Brazil? Oh, it's Peru. Peru is its own country. Fuck. Why did I think Peru was in Brazil or Argentina? I should have had some more coffee before this. Oh,
Ayahuasca is a traditional plant medicine originating in the Amazon. It is a holistic medicine that has many healing applications dealing with psychological, physical, emotional, and spiritual illnesses and conditions. Ayahuasca certainly has healing properties that directly affect a rather wide range of conditions that are not effectively treated by Western medicine. Ayahuasca is perhaps the most effective treatment for depression because it addresses that condition on both a biochemical, physiological, and psychological level. And in many cases, people having suffered depression for long periods of time after working with ayahuasca, find that they do not go back to those.
Just a second, I need to research something. Give me a new chat. Temporary. Hello. Um, I'll just say it. Hello, I'm watching a documentary called The Nature of Ayahuasca. It is interesting, but I have a question. What is the difference between ayahuasca and DMT? Like, explain the difference in their effects and their use in healing and everything else. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Oh, documentary ayahuasca, interesting. Ayahuasca and DMT, explain the difference. Alright, let's start this. Okay. Okay, I will let it type everything and then I will just make it read out loud so that we can hear it instead of me reading it. But fail to play message. Why? What the shit? Alright, I will just read it then. Alright, let's cut through the mistake. DMT. NN dimethyl tryptamine is the active psychedelic compound. It's the molecule that launches you into that vivid, intense, hyper-real, otherworldly state people talk about. The body actually produces small amount of it naturally. I know this, that we do produce a small amount of DMT in our brain. Specifically, when we die, that's when the body goes, yeah, we are dying, so let's go through this incredible DMT trip first. And our brain releases all, like, massive amount of DMT when we die, like just the moment after we die, I think. Yeah. But naturally, we also have this in our brain, and some of the meditation techniques actually help release more of that DMT effect. So there are some yogis, some people claiming that they can go through these DMT trips without taking any DMT physically, but just through the practice of meditation. So yeah, there is that. And it's found in many plants. If you smoke or vaporize pure DMT, the effects hit you in seconds and last about 10 to 20 minutes. Very fast, very intense, no gentle ramp up. It's often described as being shot out of a cannon into another dimension. Damn. Ayahuasca is a brew, not a single compound. It's made from two main Amazonian plants, Banisteriopsis capi wine, contains Harmala alkaloids, Maui, whatever that is, and that prevents your body from breaking down DMT in the gut. That prevent your body from breaking down DMT in the gut. Psychotria, where it is, or similar contains DMT, okay? The mouse in the wine slow down the breakdown of DMT, so instead of a 10-minute rocket ride, you get a 4 to 6 hour journey when drunk as a tea. Oh, so it's a long game. Difference in effects. DMT, fast onset, yes, high visual of an ego dissolvent. This is also very, like, similar effect people have seen, and this is one of the most important effects to have if you want to improve your mental or physical health. So yeah, this must happen if you want to see any improvement in your health. If this doesn't happen, you're just smoking. like, yeah, it's just another smoke trip. It's not gonna help you. So this is the main effect, and this is the primary objective, I guess, if you are doing DMT for healing yourself. Let a physical person, unless you count forgetting where your body is, feels alien or abstract, less tied to personal biography. Okay, as a gradual onset, long duration, still deeply visual, but often mixed with vivid personal memories, emotions, and life lessons. Strong physical component, nausea, vomiting, often considered part of the healing process, more narrative, a teacher-like quality. Often, people often report being guided, shown specific lessons, facing emotional blockages. Hmm. This is now interesting because I thought this thing was a DMT property, teacher-like, but it's coming from ayahuasca. Healing and ritual use. DMT alone in modern settings used more for exploration than healing. People may have profound realization, but without a structured framework, it's hit or miss for integration. Yeah. Ayahuasca traditionally used for centuries by Amazonian shamans for physical and spiritual healing, diagnosing illness, resolving trauma, fostering community cohesion. In modern therapeutic contexts, ayahuasca ceremonies are often paired with preparation, guidance, and integration work, which makes the insight more usable in everyday life. Okay, final TLDR, DMT is rocket fuel. Okay, ayahuasca is guided hour-long journey with a navigator, a safety harness, and a bucket. Okay, if you want, I can map out ayahuasca. No, 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 no. Yeah, that should be it for my tab. Yeah, I was confused between what's the difference in DMT and ayahuasca.
Feelings, and they experience a permanent relief. Same is true for anxiety issues, phobias of various types, irrational fears of things, stress and trauma disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, and things of this nature. There are many accounts of remissions of various types of
Let's see
cancer
our
following
protagonist.
work with
Who are the people
ayahuasca, usually in a
that
more
gonna do
extensive
this shit
manner.
with us?
Probably the most profound improvements in physical conditions that we've seen in our work are with people with Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis. Neurophysiological disorders in general seem to be improved rather quickly, at least symptomatically, through even short-term medication with ayahuasca.
I don't know how much that is scientifically backed, but yeah, I guess it makes sense a little bit.
What brought me here to Peru for ayahuasca was really just a short experience I had back in the States about 1.5 years ago with DMT. It was a very opening experience and helped me realize that the things that I struggle with aren't who I am and that they can be washed away with a little bit of work. And I had a ferocious appetite of learning more about ayahuasca and what it was after that.
I've been dealing with depression for most of my life, ever since I was around 12 years old, and I don't know, nothing's worked. I mean, I've dealt with so many things and tried so many meds and different kinds of therapy, and it's still very unhappy. And ayahuasca seems to have a good track record at helping people deal with things like depression and post-traumatic stress disorder and things that I've had to deal with, so it seemed like it was worth giving a try.
First heard about
Brandon.
ayahuasca from my best friend.
Very, I don't want to say American, but yeah, very American names. John, Aaron, Brandon.
Got a fair bit into spirituality, discovering more about himself, and in turn I was trying to discover a bit more about
Can we get
myself.
a Todd in here, please?
When he showed me a documentary on ayahuasca, I was very intrigued about how it helped so many people with so many issues, and it led me here.
Oh, we only got 3 people, 3 main characters in this documentary. And a guru, I don't remember his name. They introduced him in the beginning. Wow, this place, look at this, look how chill this place looks. There's a fucking forest, there's a river, and there's green grass. And there are these comfortable chairs that you can just... What? This alone would heal me from everything. I don't even need the ayahuasca.
Most people
But
have a
this guy,
tendency to think
what's
of
his name? I need to know his name. Was it given? No. And by the way, this documentary has awards. Like, yeah. Those are the fucking awards this documentary got. So, fair fucking play.
pleasant experiences as good experiences, and difficult, challenging, or hard experiences as bad experiences. When working with ayahuasca, those
My nose
criteria are not
starts running when I'm
really
talking too much.
legitimate, simply
That's it's
because
a problem. I don't know.
the very nature of
Somehow.
ayahuasca is to bring up things that people would otherwise tend to avoid dealing with. And this is one of the greatest attributes of ayahuasca from the standpoint of personal auto-psychoanalysis, as it were, enabling those issues to come to the surface so that they can be confronted.
I am a big believer in shadow work, going deep inside your own brain and figuring some past traumas and shit. It definitely helps. Like, I haven't done any proper therapy yet, but I have tried more of a, what's it, layman ways, I guess, general ways, such as meditation, light shadow work. And yeah, they do help a little bit. So I think a proper therapy or a proper experience like this would definitely put you in a different mindset completely. Like, even just a 10-minute meditation shifts your brain so much. Then imagine 5 hours of this trip would be like life-changing, obviously.
Addressed and hopefully resolved in the conscious mind, or at least that process initiated. Very often these processes of confrontation are very unpleasant, very difficult, very challenging. In reality, those experiences tend to be the most beneficial in the long run, providing the person is able to allow the process to run its course, to allow those things to come up, to engage in the hard work of processing those revelations or those confrontations. Ayahuasca is an opener. Ayahuasca is a potentiator. It brings things to the surface that remain, that are often otherwise deeply submerged in the subconscious.
It's hard work. People don't come out here to do this for fun. It's been pretty grueling with some experiences. You really get your butt kicked, and you learn really quickly to fight, or to resist, to overanalyze, to overthink. Really does a disservice to you.
Bro, some of these
In my
shots are so
experience, the more
good.
you can live in your heart and live through your soul, live through your
Very
nature,
cinematic, very
that's when you really start to figure
pleasant
out
to
what
look at.
life's about. This will actually be my second time doing ayahuasca. This experience this year has been so much more rewarding, so much deeper for me. It's been a gift, really, to come a long way and really know to let go, and follow your heart. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true. A lot of the ceremonies, even at their hardest, were just terrific, because either you fly and you have just a very good experience that makes you feel good. Perhaps you might have visions. A A lot of times they can be really difficult, but even the hard ceremonies where you're suffering a lot of it, when you become aware enough, you realize the beauty in your plight and the beauty and the plight of all of us. And it's not to say we can't improve and make each other's lives better. No, I'm not saying that or suggesting.
Bro, something about this hippie life is so peaceful. Like, literally, everything is chilled out. Whenever I see something like this, like a hippie camp or people like the yogis, especially the Western yogis, not in India. We have different yogis here. They do not look chill at all. They're actually doing yoga and going deeper. But the Western yogis, something about them is so chill. Like they have figured it out. They're just chilling, living life. So good. No real world problems, no money problems, no nothing. Just fucking living in the middle of whatever, Peru.
I'm just saying there's so much opportunity for growth, and every hardship, every trouble we have is really just a blessing in disguise. And that's just the other dimension to life. And I would not have that had I not been, to Peru the first time and this time. So it's just been incredible. Sometimes when you're in your rut, whatever it is, you think you're alone, you think you've got it the worst, you think no one would understand. And in this process, in these ceremonies and these talking circles afterwards, you realize that everybody's having a similar fight on a fundamental level. And it's just profound.
When one comes to work with ayahuasca, an appropriate amount of preparation, training, and guidance is extremely helpful, beneficial, indeed for most people essential, in order to be prepared for some of the surprises that ayahuasca often brings, to help people diminish expectations that are unwarranted. There's a tendency often for people to expect or desire ayahuasca to be what they want it to be rather than being capable of surrendering to it and allowing it to work as it naturally does. The preparation must focus perhaps first and foremost on intention. That is to say, the reasons why a person wants to undertake the process.
What's this forest called? Like mangrove
It's important to
forest?
understand that work with ayahuasca is a
It's just a
process and not a
forest in a
singular
river.
event. All of the benefits of
I
ayahuasca
saw that
cannot be realized.
in Kerala last year. It's not the most dangerous or most dense mangrove forest. I hope I'm right on that. But it was the first time I saw it in real life. It was a fucking great experience. Like, imagine just on a boat, forest everywhere. In the water, you can't even see what's in the water because it's so muddy and green. It was terrifying. I mean, not terrifying because I knew that it's not the most dangerous forest. It's just a normal forest, but yeah, it was very interesting. The experience was so cool.
In a single session, or in many cases even a single cycle of work.
Dang, that what is that? Is that a flower fruit? There are spikes. In many indigenous Amazonian cultures, ayahuasca is seen as a female spirit. For many people, the effect of ayahuasca appears to have feminine, maternal qualities. What does that mean? That ayahuasca appears to have feminine or maternal qualities?
I am actually hopeful that when I get back, I'll be able to do what needs to be done to get to the next step, to be happy again.
He's Adam, right?
She made it very clear. She's like, I can't take you there, but I can show you the way. And she did a very good job of that the other night. I don't know, and the nice thing is she gave me the, several hours of what the finish line is. So I know what I'm aiming for. I know why it's worth it. She just showed me infinite love, and that's the word that just came up over and over again, and the experience of it. I mean, it's beyond words, obviously, but just the space of infinite love, and anything else is crap. There's just, everything else is just a distraction from that infinite space that we all live in, that we just forgot about. And anytime I started to lose it a little bit, she'd take me right back to it, just like hammer it home. Just, this is what you're going for. This is what it's all about. I I would never say that this work is for everyone. It's not easy. It's not a fun experience, and you definitely have to be prepared for it. I think, it took me 10 years to get to the point where I felt comfortable trying it, because it can be terrifying. It can be infinitely frustrating. The first few attempts were very frustrating for me, but I just kept with it, and there was always an insight you would get. And for me, it was in the sharing circle the next day when I'd listen to other people talk, and it wouldn't necessarily be their experiences, but something about being in that shared space, I would start to process what I learned from the night before, even if it felt like nothing at the time. I would be able to go into the next ceremony with a new perspective, and the next ceremony would get something more, and I'd use that, and then boom, it just, the one night, just out of nowhere, it was all there. As far as people who would think it's hippy-dippy,
look at this shot.
All roads lead to Rome, so to speak, so as long as people are ready, they'll find the way.
In one's work with ayahuasca, there are two principal phases of the work. Three, if you consider the preliminary preparation. Okay. The second phase, of course, is the intensive phase. The intensive phase is the ceremonial experience, the experience one has when one partakes of ayahuasca. So the third phase of one's relationship with ayahuasca is actually the most important phase of the three, and that's the phase we call integration. And integration is the processing and the realization of what one has received in the intensive phase. And integration is an open-ended process.
You can't even make sense of what you saw the first time. You have to discuss it, you talk about it, and then you might make sense of it. That's fucking abstract. That does not feel effective to me. Because the thing is, when you try to make sense of something later on, you're gonna have some biases, and you're gonna just how do I say this? You're gonna make that experience your own thing. The experience can be ABC, but you're trying to make sense of it later on, you might take it as XYZ. So that the third step that he explained, which is make sense of it on your own later on, that's not the best way to do it.
Often the benefits are not immediately evident, and in many cases it will initiate a healing process that will unfold step by step and eventually lead one to resolution of those.
Yeah, I would. Now, what he said kind of made sense to me. You don't try to make sense of it, you just let it be in your head. That experience, let it be. And you will automatically make sense as time goes on. That I have seen that happening. Some experiences, you don't understand them in the moment, but you don't disturb them. You just keep them in your head, and later on they will make sense. That So methodology actually, I think, is more effective than sitting around and consciously trying to make sense out of something that you didn't understand the first time.
Physical or psychological conditions, or awaken one to certain realities that perhaps they have not been aware of up to that point.
Pretty much all my life, as long as I could pretty much consciously remember, I've dealt with anxiety, high anxiety, and in a way it's forced me to become someone who I'm not. It's forced me to become emotionless, I guess you could say. Bottled up a lot of things because it was just too hard to face. I wouldn't go to parties and stuff like that. It really led me to discovering more about myself. I'd always found excuses like work. I used marijuana as a crutch, and even in relationships, I would use that as another excuse. I was using their happiness to really fuel mine, and I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't being true to them. It's incredible.
Another insight I'm getting right now is that normal people never experience or go through something like this. Normal people are just normal. They just live their life, as he said, go to the parties, like have a social life, enjoy their work and everything. It's always the people with some kind of mental health issues like anxiety or something, which would do out of the box shit like this, or even just starting a journey about self-discovery. I have never seen a normal person who doesn't suffer from any mental health issue trying to understand himself. It's always the people who are not right in their head. It's always the people who are suffering from something that try to make sense of their life and their world and try shit like this.
Incredible for what 10 days has done to that. I mean, an entire lifetime of dealing with it, and the talking circles that we've had here have been a major part in that. Not just the ayahuasca, not just the medicine. This whole place has had an effect on me that I would never have imagined. For me personally,
like that was taken in
it's helped
daytime. Like this shot was taken in daytime, just on a very low exposure. What you trying to do here? Trying to capture the sun?
Have imagined.
It doesn't even look good.
I mean, it's helped me see my family and friends, more so some family members who I've had a tough time appreciating.
Wow, that food.
It's really shone a light on that. In one of my
Actually,
ceremonies,
that's good.
I saw each member of my family, all their faces. They came to me in a vision, and it was just like, oh, I love you so much. I have so much appreciation for everything you've done for me, and I would never have felt that before. I know I've got a lot more healing to do. I know I need to open my heart a lot more, and I'm not there yet, but I've been shown the way, and yeah, I'm looking forward to more progress. I'll let all this sink in, and when I go back home, I'm going to give all my family the biggest hug.
I wish they showed us more clips about like when they're actually in the phase. Like you said, in the second phase they take ayahuasca and they just sit there and experience it. I wish they showed us more of that. But yeah, I guess there is not much to show either. Like they just sit there. I wish there was a technology which could capture the insides of their brain and what they're seeing. That would be so fucking cool.
There is a serious question about the future of ayahuasca availability. As consumption of ayahuasca increases here in the Peruvian Amazon, it's also expanding exponentially all over the world. And many tons of ayahuasca are exported every year from Peru, from other South American countries, source countries. There are a number of organizations and individuals who are actively involved in the cultivation and propagation of ayahuasca and ayahuasca companion plants such as chacruna, yahe, to try to offset this growing demand and consumption. This is extremely good. It must be encouraged. Certainly, anyone using ayahuasca on a regular basis should be doing something to propagate or sustain their own consumptive needs or use of the plants.
Oh, that's a nice shot. Oh, what is this?
A common reference in the context of work with ayahuasca is the purge. The purge simply represents a cleansing or a purification process.
My nose just doesn't
Purging
stop running.
can involve virtually any kind of clearing or elimination process that's either physical, emotional, or energetic in nature.
Ooh.
The physical aspects of purging with ayahuasca usually involve vomiting, throwing up. But many people, in the course of an ayahuasca ceremony, engaging in a purging process, experience that as an elimination of negativity, toxicity, and harmful energy that is lodged in their being. And so they have a feeling that all of that is coming up and coming out in the course of that physical purging.
I love the way they're showing this.
Purging may occur as crying,
This is
some other emotional release.
This is a great way
Sometimes it
to,
involves
first of all, conserve the privacy of these people. Second of all, what the fuck? This is great.
The purification process.
From an art stand, from an art's perspective, this is a great decision to show the whole process like this. This is what I was talking about earlier, like, show us more of this.
Really the essential first step in forming one's deeper connection with ayahuasca. A person may come to ayahuasca in a relatively impure state and have an exciting, entertaining, or even highly visual experience that they might find personally gratifying or rewarding in the short term. But the deeper long-term benefits require that purification process and deeper connection that penetrates to the very core of one's soul, if you will. And if that penetration occurs successfully, there is usually a transformation involved which changes the goal or motive of the person for their lives. It creates a more profound, more thoughtful objective for their life.
That was great. That whole scene, how they showed it, amazing. But typically practiced in the Amazon, ayahuasca is administered by a healer called a curandero, male, or a curandera, female, during the ceremonies. Okay.
The Amazonian curanderos with whom I work are Don Robert Acho Arama. Doña Liana is his wife. Don Carlos is his son. Don Carlos is the third generation curandero in his family lineage. I've worked with Don Robert for almost 13 years now. And Don Robert's experience is very rich. He began his work with ayahuasca when he was 11 years old. He was trained by his uncle and his grandfather. And he began to conduct ceremonies on his own when he was 18 years old after an apprenticeship of 7 years, which is about average for most curanderos who come up within the culture and undergo a shamanic apprenticeship at some point in their lives. Not all start that early. some a little later, but the amount of time required to attain competence, skill, and sufficient knowledge to administer ayahuasca is 6 to 8 years of training. The reference to shamanism is a relatively newly introduced term that
I don't doubt his knowledge in ayahuasca, but his dressing sense. God damn, look at this. A fucking golden watch, white shirt, a great fucking shoes, by the way. You saw it in the audio shot. A cap, and a fucking cigar, like huge thing. Man looks like a fucking gangster.
30 years ago was rarely heard here in the Amazon. That's been largely imported by Western influences. People here now recognize that what they do is a form of shamanism, but in their own minds, they generally think of it in other terms.
In the end of the year,
Shamanism. Now I remember where I heard it before. There's a fucking incoming call I need to take. No, I fucking don't need to take that, right? Okay. Okay. This is Andreas, by the way. Anyways, I was saying, now I remember where I knew shamanism from. Alex Pereira. Shama. That's where I know it from. Yeah. I had it in my mind. I was like, I have heard it somewhere. Where did I hear it? It's fucking Alex Pereira.
2010, I like to make a yoga teacher training. At the day when I would transfer the money to the yoga training, I went into the internet and I found a picture from a jaguar behind the leaf.
I
clicked on the picture,
yeah.
and then
What
I
is that
came to
insect?
the website from Howard. And 4 weeks later, I was here.
What brought me to ayahuasca was to break this cycle of insanity.
What?
Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Working through past traumas, I needed a way to release, to cleanse myself, cleanse my soul. And it suffered with my relationship at the time and with connection with people. So that's why I needed to change.
Technically, you can call it insanity. Like trying to solve the problem, doing the same thing but expecting different result. That is the definition of insanity. But yeah, that bit extreme to call that insanity. You're just trying to solve your problems with different ways. It's not working. That doesn't mean you're fucking insane.
What brought me to ayahuasca?
Ducin.
Really, I can't pinpoint it directly.
Name so far which doesn't sound American. Ducin. He's Australian. So of course it's not going to sound
It was,
American.
I was doing writing in my spare time. A lot of things I wrote about led to consciousness and shamanism, and I decided to explore these things in research. And at the time I was going through a marriage breakup, so I had a lot of time to myself to look inward, and I didn't want to be sort of that person that I was. So that led me down the rabbit hole of finding out more.
There are really two kinds of people interested in ayahuasca in the broad category.
Mm-hmm.
The primary category would be
I would like to hear
genuine
this.
seekers. The other broad category is more centered in curiosity or thrill seeking. Increasingly, I see more people
seekers and
coming to
seekers.
Iquitos without.
Wait.
The primary category would be genuine seekers.
Genuine seekers.
The other broad category is more centered in curiosity or thrill seeking.
Okay, thrill seekers and genuine
Increasingly,
seekers.
I see more people coming to Iquitos without real intentions for their connection with ayahuasca. What this has caused is a change in attitudes not only among the Western people, but also
I would like to
in
know, is that actual ayahuasca roots? Like they have shown this multiple times, so I would like to assume that's it. Those are the ayahuasca roots.
local culture as well.
A lot bigger than I imagined. Like most of the highly effective roots, the highly effective herbs are smaller in size.
Well, 15 years ago, the few people who came here interested in ayahuasca tended to fit the former category of seeker, of healing or spiritual realization. Now, people here in the Amazon are increasingly aware that many people come for other reasons as well. And this has changed their attitude and perspective on the nature of the Western mentality. I think they probably respect it a little less in general, but they also see opportunities for themselves economically and otherwise, so there's a very mixed response. Well, of course, ayahuasca is endemic to the Amazonian region of South America. It has a very deep cultural history, going back most likely thousands of years. Western influence has a very poor track record in its discovery of indigenous practices, particularly shamanic practices, and the subsequent appropriation of the knowledge and the resources. The important thing for people to bring to this work, if one comes to the Amazon to engage the medicine and to engage the traditional practices surrounding it, is to bring sensitivity, to bring respect, to understand that one is not coming into this culture from a position or a stance of superiority, to understand that people of Western birth and heritage have as much to gain, as much to learn from people and culture and practices in this culture as this culture has to learn from them. To understand that there is a reciprocity. For everything that is received, something should be given. To realize that they are bringing potential benefits, but they are also bringing potentially harmful influences as well. To be aware of that, to be sensitive to that, and to try to help preserve the foundations of this culture and these cultural practices as purely as possible for as long as possible. Recognizing that all forms of transcultural contact inevitably produce
that butterfly
change.
is fucking awesome looking. Every year, tens of thousands of people travel to Peru and other South American countries to work with ayahuasca amongst other indigenous plants medicine. Okay?
When I was here for my first time, I had no idea what's coming up.
What's this accent?
I had no expectations. I only knew that ayahuasca is a great healer and a great medicine.
Yeah.
My first experience was very special. I will never forget that day. The medicine
I don't know
put me on
what
an
that
inner
accent
journey,
is. Like, is it Mexican or something?
and he showed me the things inside. They are not clean. They were like rooms, and they opened the
Now it
rooms,
sounds
and
South Asian. No, not South Asian, just Asian.
I saw a lot of trash in the rooms. And over the years, we cleaned all the rooms up.
I can't figure
Now
out his
my
accent.
7th time here. I drank ayahuasca nearly 60 times. When you take a medicine, it's very important to have the right set in the right setting. Medicines usually act local, and medicine here is a local medicine from the Amazon. From my own experience, it is very, very important to have the jungle, to have the environment of the plants around.
Bro, this
Ayahuasca to
is
be
such
in
a
the
beautiful
jungle,
place.
not in a city or in a country where there is no rainforest. You can do that, it works, but it's not an optimum.
Oh,
Howard and Don
they are
Roca
tribal.
offer us the opportunity to get real traditional
That was one of
healing.
those Western kind of a tribe. Like they just pretend they're tribal, just for the amusement of these people, these tourists. Yeah, that could be the case.
Learn real traditional medicine.
Like, yeah, they are
Because
shaking
here,
hands.
like I experienced, you can see where is the plant from, who cut the plant, who grew the plant.
This is just part of the experience, I guess.
Whole process, it's very transparent.
Oh, wow.
For me, it's better to come here to support people.
Maybe they are
Like
tribal.
we do when we are here. We watch different tribes and we support them. We create connections through heart to the people here. and to see,
Oh,
cool,
that's kind of cool.
open-hearted people, also in the Western world. For me, it's better than to bring the medicine to Europe. For me, it's the biggest changes that happened is, for me, it's an inner transformation. It's about how do we deal with life? How does life affect us? Different situations. I learned to stay in the middle, to go in positions like an observer, stay calm, and discover inner peace. In the first ceremonies, I had a lot healing about my past, my mistakes, about forgiveness, about self-love, how to love
I
each
don't
other.
like where this documentary is going now. Like, we have shifted from ayahuasca to this more of a cultural thing.
And after that, it comes the learning.
Can we go back to...
It's about listening to the medicine, listening to yourself. It's all inside us. Medicine helps us to reveal that, to open yourself up, because your teacher is inside of you. This lesson I can learn every day at home.
Who's this guy?
And I can integrate that. And when I integrated these lessons, I will come back. But not before.
To the butterflies.
Work with the sacred plants often brings people to a point of questioning virtually everything that they assume to be absolute or true up to that point. There's an opening of the possibilities in their lives that they had not considered before. You know, this is a path for the true truth seeker, revealing, helping us to understand where we've been, where we're coming from in our lives and in our deeper spiritual journey, where we are now in the present, and perhaps by understanding those 2 points, having a sense of our destiny and where we go from here.
Wow, that tree is tall.
The medicine is good because sometimes you get lessons in ways you never expect. Sometimes it seems too tough and too strong, but I know that medicine only gives you what you can handle, no more, no less.
What? Okay.
And if you think you can't handle it, it's the ego talking that wants to protect you and not allow the medicine to work. Last year was my first time. I came last January, and my intention for coming was to open my heart and connect with my emotions again. She showed me herself in this Native American form, which is very, very beautiful and powerful. It brought me to this door of light, and there was this big warrior, half man, half beast, just blocking the way. And I didn't know at the time whether it was something I had to conquer in order to get through to the door. And then as the ceremonies passed, my attention stayed the same. So it was pretty much 5 nights of ceremonies, all based off of one long story. And it showed me a lot of love, a lot of passion, a lot of happiness. So at one point, it brought me to this room where I was able to start seeing the intensity of my visions that are being shed.
His story, right now that he's telling, reminded me of Far Cry 4. In that game, we have to like find different parts of Shangri-La. Shangri-La is this mythical place where, I don't know, like an evil spirit has taken over Shangri-La, and we have to fight this evil spirit. And as we go through the game, we will be finding different pieces of Shangri-La, and every time we find a piece, we would get transported to this brand new mythical world. His story literally sounds like what I played in Far Cry 4.
My emotions. So it would be like this silhouette, and around it is this black, dark smoke just swirling around it. And the emotion attached to it, you could see it was just stored up trauma, and it would pull away and kind of dissipate. And every time it would be almost a slight sense of relief as it dissipated. That happened for a while, and then it put me in this position of seeing another silhouette, and just raw, decayed meat just starts disintegrating off of it. But in this symbol, it was more powerful because it was like just this negative energy, you know, being stored in the body, and how bad it is for you. They dove into empathy. I've always been mentally strong and been able to conquer and do things that I choose to do. It's a good attribute that I have, but on the same extent, it doesn't allow me to experience empathy towards other people when it comes to psychological effects from their minds. So anxiety, restless leg syndrome, I always thought were created by the mind to deflect you from something. And when people would experience them, I would just be like, oh, it's just your mind. You know, just tell it to go away and it will. You know, I'm able to do it, but it doesn't mean everybody else is. It wasn't until one ceremony where I felt extreme, severe case of anxiety, restless leg syndrome, and nausea all at the same time for a long period of time, which pushed me to the point of giving in and not overanalyzing and using my mind the way that I always do. As soon as I gave in and gave up to the medicine, to the lessons, to my own emotions, that's when I went even deeper into the medicine. And it tied back all the way to the first ceremony where it showed me that that beast that was blocking the door was then slayed.
It doesn't make sense in my head, but I guess it's more of an experience thing. Oh, dude. Gee, in that train. Oh, what the fuck is this view? Dude, this is a beautiful fucking place. Oh, fuck. And the more I'm seeing this, the more I'm realizing how similar Kerala is to South America. Like, this is literally what Kerala looks like.
Perhaps the most prevailing myth about ayahuasca is simply that all one needs to do to become a better person is drink ayahuasca. That is a rather gross oversimplification, which simply isn't true. It has been demonstrated time and again in people who lack intention or desire to change themselves or change something about their lives, who've taken ayahuasca and gone back into their lives and continued to do and act and live pretty much in the same way as they did before. And there is a corresponding assumption that anyone who works with ayahuasca as a curandero or as a facilitator is automatically trustworthy and competent simply because they work with ayahuasca. Unfortunately, neither of these assumptions are true. There are risks in working with the sacred plants. The primary risk is in the qualities and characteristics the individual brings to the work itself. The other risk is in
this is definitely
determining the intentions and
award-worthy
authenticity and integrity of the person with whom one will do the work, in terms of how trustworthy they are, how much do they know, are they capable of dealing with situations that might be potentially dangerous or risky to you. When one works with sacred plants, one intentionally and knowingly and willingly becomes vulnerable to influences beyond their own. In fact, ayahuasca, as other sacred plants, induces a light state of hypnosis. And so when one takes ayahuasca, one is entering a state of a lowered threshold of suggestibility. And this lowered threshold of suggestibility may be used to the patient's benefit by a curandero, a person of dubious intentions might use that same quality of the plant to take advantage of a person in some way. All of these things should be considered, and this is not to overemphasize the risks or dangers, but at the same time, it's prudent not to ignore them either. The horror stories are the direct result of the globalization and explosion of this whole process and the expanded involvement of people who are ill-prepared and unqualified to be doing it. All that said, if one undertakes this work guided by someone of experience, integrity, knowledge, skill, and a genuine desire to be supportive and helpful, then such people are generally trustworthy and are capable of guiding a person through this process with great success.
Hi.
The new wave of dark and foreboding tales of danger and so forth, while some of that is true, overwhelmingly it is an exaggeration and doesn't characterize the situation as a whole.
I think for me, I've had some really good experiences with the ayahuasca. Any expectations I had were pretty much blown out of the water, but some that I did have were I was going to go crazy or something, because you hear all these horror stories of just things going all wrong. So it was just, all in all, the whole process of the way they do things. On the first night, it was just like a contents page or something like that, but without really showing me anything. It just made me feel comfortable, and there's some sort of feminine aspect to it. But once you take it, it's a whole different world. It just took me down into myself, into the dark places I have, and was able to just sort of like shred things apart, and made me take layers and layers and layers of armor off stuff that I didn't want to be hurt, or in a sense I'd become a little bit stone cold. Years of layers that I'd stacked upon my heart, and the way that I present feelings in certain situations, was able to show it to me with more clarity, so I could see it again. Over the last 10 days, I think I've definitely opened up something, and I think it's more my true feelings and how I mask that a lot. For me, it was like I was going through a process that had almost become a wolf in a way, and I was going through it in the first person, but I was also seeing it in like pictorial from a third person point of view as well, and it was like I was seeing it, but it was like I'd already seen it, and it was just replayed back to me in a weird sense, so I'd understand from all facets. I was able to not just see it from my side, but see it from maybe someone else's point of view. It leaves a fingerprint of that in your memory, and you can't really forget it. In fact, it grows, and you start to see all these different things that help you understand what you were, let's say, to what you could be.
Because some of these monologues are so... they don't make sense, but I don't know. There's something that just hooks you into these monologues. Like, I was listening to it with my full attention, even though it wasn't making complete sense. What the fuck?
Positive benefit one may realize through work with ayahuasca are in the area of holistic healing and in the area of spiritual development and realization. Often these two processes go hand in hand. And in the concept of holistic healing, obviously that involves healing in all aspects of one's being. And the spiritual realization dimension is not fully realized by everyone who works with ayahuasca, at least to the same degree. People often experience a spiritual epiphany of sorts, whether they were previously spiritually inclined or not. The common response is an awakening at some level of one's spiritual consciousness. If nurtured, the usual result or common result is a positive transformation, which leads to better things in people's lives.
What led me to ayahuasca about a year ago.
Yeah, about spirituality, I guess I'm too young to even have an opinion on it, to be honest. Because it's such a in-depth topic. Like you need to be in it to actually understand it up to a point and then form your own opinion. So yeah, but I'm very interested in spirituality, I can say that much. I'm too much of an amateur to even say that do it, like I believe in it or I don't. Like to form that opinion, I need to be a lot more knowledgeable on the topic. But yeah, right now I'm interested. I would like to know where that spiritual road goes and how helpful it can be in real life. But I do think that to have a full understanding of life, you need to actually have some background of spirituality. Like, you cannot have a complete whole life or a complete picture of what life is unless you go deeper into spirituality. So yeah, that is a very interesting topic, and I would love to get I would love to go deeper into it. That's all I can say right now.
Was that I was sort of the guy who had it all together on the surface, and it was slowly dawning on me that I didn't have it all together, that I was numb and unhappy and not on the right track for my life. So I came to ayahuasca looking for solutions to those problems. My
And I
experience
also noticed that why is the exposure going so down suddenly? Like, yeah, please be there. So yeah, I was gonna say that I also noticed that they are referring ayahuasca as a person instead of a herb or a psychedelic. They're speaking to it like a person. If I came to ayahuasca told me this. Like, that is interesting. And they did say that ayahuasca is considered to be a female spirit. So yeah, I guess they're referring to it as the female goddess or spirit.
with ayahuasca was that it was like a defibrillator. It was like came in and zapped me back to life, got my heart beating again. It was like I was taken in a jet airplane straight past all the dancing mice and the fireworks shows that people talk about to what I would call the Great Spirit. I think religions have called it God, but that's where it took me.
Wow, that mask
very
is
quickly.
insane.
No messing around, and I got to experience what it was like to have that connection. That was a connection I couldn't have possibly imagined. And that's, for me, what this is all about, developing a connection between you and something bigger than you. The whole idea is that there doesn't need to be a hierarchy. Shamanism in its best form just puts you and it right there. And in its best moments, you merge completely. And then the
artistry is
dichotomy of
crazy.
you and it is gone. And there's just the one thing. That's something that you can only experience. There are no words. After having this experience, I definitely struggled with taking that and putting it back into my day-to-day life. And I'd say for me, it took about a year before I'd integrated that. And I found that was where the real work was. and also where the real benefits came. But that's an aspect that's sometimes overlooked. Integrating that experience required a shift in lifestyle and a shift in the way I was and the way I was in the world that required me to change my goals, change my work, change a lot. The other thing that ayahuasca has been teaching me this time around is about choice. And everything is a choice. And we get to, every moment, we get to choose between, really, I look at it as the light side and the dark side, or however you want to conceptualize it. But we can make the world whatever we want it to be with just our choice. And ayahuasca has helped me see both sides to this thing very clearly. And I feel like now I'm in a much more centered position to make the choices that are going to lead us in the direction that's going to be positive for myself and for everyone. My only advice would be ayahuasca is not for everyone, and that if you have a calling to do it, then I suggest you pick up the phone.
Many people are seeking alternatives to the Western paradigm. I think one of the reasons for that is simply the fact that the Western world has been for some time dissatisfied with its own status quo and with the absence of a meaningful base of reference other than rampant materialism. There's still a good many people whose primary perception of ayahuasca
an epidemic of meaning in the Western world. Like many of the, I don't want to say youngsters because I'm one of them. Like my generation is definitely struggling from lack of meaning in life. Like, what is it about? Why am I doing anything? Like, why am I recording this video right now? So yeah, there's definitely an epidemic, an epidemic, I guess, of meaning and that existential crisis. Many people have that, like millennials struggled from it during their 30s. They call it the midlife crisis. But with the Gen Zs and the younger ones, we are having it a lot sooner than the millennials and the generations even before them. Like the midlife crisis has just shifted its age group from the 30s and in mid 30s and 40s to into the 20s. Like, yeah, and maybe in the future it might even go to the teenage years. Like, if this goes on, like this timeline that we are in right now, if still goes on, maybe we might have teenagers talking about existential crises. That would be insane, bruv. Like, teenagers. You're not even like that. You haven't even started your life and you're already having a fucking existential crisis. That is fucking insane to me.
Is as a new and novel drug experience as opposed to a holistic
like right
medicine.
Now, I'm in my early 20s. So, and I did have some struggles with it. Like, that is fucking insane. How did that happen? How did we ended up here? Like someone, and this is not a me problem. This is a us problem. Like many people would relate to this. Like, it is fucking insane. Is it the internet? Is it the westernization? Is it the fucking new age thinking? What is it? Like, what caused us to be this? It's weird. It's weird.
helping people to form a healthy attitude that is in line with the actual nature of the plant, the nature of the practice, and which recognizes its positive benefits, I think is a very important thing. This is Wambisa. Wambisa. The most powerful of the companion plants. But in many respects, science is kind of catching up with traditional medicine in terms of providing the proof, if you will, based on scientific method and evaluation to the satisfaction of the Western mind that this plant and related plants associated with it do indeed have remarkable healing properties that have great potential in service to humanity and in dealing with things that modern conventional pharmaceutical medicine does not address well, if at all.
Look at this shot, man. This
A very
documentary
important
is
cultural
beautiful.
aspect
I can
of
say that
work with
much.
ayahuasca is in bonding. This has been an integral role of ayahuasca in indigenous culture for a long time. That is the effectiveness it has in bringing people together and unifying people and helping people find common cause and common ground and reducing competitiveness, increasing cooperation. What we see in our work with ayahuasca, with people coming together for the first time, within 48 hours, no one feels like anyone else is a stranger anymore, going through the trials and tribulations and stripping away of the barriers to
Yeah,
communication.
this alone,
When people
this sense of connection that these retreats provide, that alone is supremely helpful for your mental health. Keep the fucking ayahuasca experience aside, just a sense of community, the sense of connection that people get when they are in this retreat for 10 days, 15 days. That is fucking awesome.
leave here,
That
invariably
alone
they
would
leave as
heal
brothers
you
and
so
sisters.
much.
They leave with a sense of love and appreciation for each other.
Yeah.
As I tell everyone from the get-go, when you start here, everyone is an apprentice and everyone is a maestro. Everyone is a teacher and everyone has something to learn from everyone else. And indeed, that's the way it unfolds. So it's that dynamic exchange in the spirit of giving, in the spirit of sharing, in the spirit of compassion and tolerance for our differences. All of this has a very beneficial, positive influence on virtually everyone who does this work, which ideally carries on over into everyone's personal life when they go back home.
Two and a half years later. What a fucking shot!
Well, you know, I pretty much hit the ground running when I came back home with life here. Like I had all these incredible experiences at Spirit Quest. You know, I saw the things that were holding me back and some things I didn't see before. And I guess we continue to do that, right? When we get home, we start reflecting back on our experiences.
I
and
like
they
this.
keep
They're
on, at
showing
least for
us
me, just
the
birthing new
post-credit
insights, you know,
story
each
of
ceremony that I kind of
all
go
these
back
people.
on. When I got home, I don't know, you see deeper into the day-to-day stuff that you usually just kind of took for granted. Even just simple stuff like work or maintaining friendships or acquaintances just really helped me take everything to another level. And I'm definitely happier. You know, we have all of our stuff. We all have our issues, part of being human. And we get reflections every day in life of the things that we struggle with. So yeah, I still have all that stuff. But it doesn't penetrate as hard as it used to, you know? And ayahuasca and my time at Spirit Quest definitely contributed to that growth. And super grateful that I did that.
Psychedelic research thrived throughout the 50s and 60s, as findings showed great promise for the treatment of mental disorders. However, due to the countercultural revolution of the 60s and the subsequent stigmatization of these substances and their use, psychedelics were criminalized and research was stopped. Which is also another conspiracy, by the way. that this was a play by the fucking elites to stop us from gaining more knowledge. That fucking makes sense. Like, why was the research stopped? Okay, you want to criminalize the psychedelics? That's fine. Like, drug abuse, I'm obviously against it. No complaints there. You want to authorize or regulate the use of these psychedelics? Perfect, fine. That's no problem. But why the fuck did you stop the research? Like, what? The research should have been there, and the research would have come. The reason why they stopped it, because the research would have resulted in a result which would have shown us that the psychedelics fucking work. They have tremendous effect on our brain and our capacity to think, and they are good with almost no side effects. That's what the result would have shown. I am guessing all this, by the way. Don't fucking take this as something serious. I'm being fucking sarcastic. Anyways, that's what I think. Like, psychedelics criminalized and research was stopped. That is suspicious. That is fucking suspicious, you know? And the theory, the conspiracy, that theory makes a lot of sense. Like, why would you do that? Like, why? Is to keep us dumb? I mean, it is a very good idea. Like, something, if I was one of the elites, I would definitely ban a substance that would make normal people smart. Fair play. Good strategic move, elites. Good job. Anyways, I don't know why I went on that fucking tangent there. We are now experiencing a psychedelic renaissance. Good.
Yeah, when I got back, there was a hangover for a while, you know, the ayahuasca hangover, where you're just in love with everything, and ayahuasca was just in my head for a long time, just kind of like, I don't know, I had this feeling like she had a ulterior motive, you know, like she's trying to get me to do things that weren't really me, and it really affected how I was when I got back in my relationships, and it made me much more clear with what I was willing to put up with. So there were some friendships I just let slide, you know, I just wasn't willing to put up with that anymore. I definitely still have a lot of work to do. My depression is still there, but it's definitely quieted down quite a bit. I have a different relationship with it now. It's much less antagonistic, you know, and I'm a lot more accepting of that situation than I used to be. Life took a very different direction than I expected, and I'm a very different, much more confident person now, but it hasn't been easy. It hasn't always been fun. But I see now, I feel like
whoever did the visuals
the
of
whole
this
thing was leading
documentary,
to this point to basically get back to
he
some
should
sort
get
of
a
ground zero
personal
where I can
award for
relax
it.
for the first time in
Like,
20 years probably.
I think they
which
got
wouldn't have been
the
possible
best
had I
visuals
not,
award, something.
you know, gone down to Peru.
But yeah, bro, these visuals are insane. Studies have shown that various psychedelic compounds can greatly benefit people struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance abuse, amongst other mental afflictions, as well as help people better cope with end-of-life anxiety. Modern research is showing that long-term occasional use of classic psychedelics is associated with decreased psychological distress. Makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
When our arrived back home,
Brandon,
I felt
Australia.
I was in a really good place mentally, and I think that made me realise that all the problems and the challenges that I
looks like
faced
Times
before
Square.
didn't bear as much weight as I'd previously given them. Integrating
But
my
this is
experience
Australia,
certainly
I'm
wasn't
assuming.
easy. I went back to
That
the
looks
same
like London Eye.
routine, and it wasn't long before I found myself slipping back into old habits and unhealthy mindsets. So to try and eliminate that from happening, I had to change my lifestyle. I changed my diet, I started watching less TV, and just found things that were so much more fulfilling to me. 2.5 years on, I still find myself sometimes falling back into those old habits and mindsets, but I'm by far in a much better place than where I was.
These shots are amazing.
For me, ayahuasca has helped me gain so much more self-love and more confidence within myself. It's just helped me in so many ways.
Research is indicating that ayahuasca, like other psychedelic substances, could help treat a wide range mental disorders and conditions. It is finding that ayahuasca can increase mindfulness capacities, reducing judgmental processing of experiences and inner reactivity. Studies suggest that regular ayahuasca use creates changes in the physical structure of the brain and personality which are linked to better mental health. God damn. Of course they banned the fucking use of ayahuasca and psychedelics. Of course they fucking stopped the research on it. Now it makes sense.
So when I first got back from Peru, life here was challenging in the aspects of connections with my friends and
I love
people,
this, like,
life.
they literally are going through each and one of our protagonists in the documentary and showing their cities or their countries. Love the artistic choices they made for this.
It wasn't as deep as it was down there. It was hard to find my place, and it was a little challenging just trying to figure out how to belong back into the past before going to Peru. Since going down, when I met everybody in this documentary, I've been down 3 more times, and my growth has been amazing. Life has been very happy. My perception has shifted tremendously, and ayahuasca has helped me to let go of emotions that caused me to be depressed and on the reason why I went down there. Things unfolded for me in a way that I didn't really know. You know, some of the lessons I'm still learning from my first ayahuasca journey. Every time I'm learning more, and it's still integrating now. The way that I think, the way that I am, how I hold myself. Plant medicine, it's challenging, but it's also an absolute blessing.
Studies have found that ayahuasca appears to stimulate the birth of new brain cells, neurogenesis, improving brain plasticity, and potentially helping people suffering with dementia and other neurodegenerative diseases. Research is indicating that ayahuasca enhances creative divergent thinking. Bam! Suggesting that it increases psychological flexibility, which may facilitate psychotherapeutic intervention. All of these fucking effects are just showing that you get a bigger brain in general if you take ayahuasca. I'm not saying you should take ayahuasca, by the way. Don't listen to me. I'm a fucking idiot.
Looking back on my ayahuasca work now, Colorado, I would say I was quite naive about the integration process. You know, I hoped that drinking ayahuasca would solve all my problems, and I quickly found out that was not the case. I quickly found out that it would require work and dedication and sincerity and to meet it halfway. In doing so, I realized significant benefits in my life. I can say that I'm a much happier, more well-adjusted, content person for my work, and that's substantial. That's not going anywhere. You know, having a few years of perspective on it, I would say that my work with ayahuasca was, without a doubt, the biggest turning point in my life. This requires work, but it's work that's well worth doing, and there's big benefits to this.
Scientists are still trying to understand the many layers and complexities that render the psychedelic experience so deeply therapeutic. Although more research is needed, there is much hope and promise that psychedelics will revolutionize the Western approach to mental health care. I hope. What a fucking
There's
shot.
often no
That
benefit
looks like AI
going back into
generated,
ceremony
man.
too
What the
quickly,
fuck?
following a good cycle of work until a sufficient amount of
This came out in
integration has
2019.
occurred.
The AI
And usually
generated
people
thing
know
wasn't
when
even a
it's
thing
time
back
to
then.
do it again, if they feel called to do it again, because that integrated process can actually go on for years. I got an email from a guy in Hawaii yesterday who was here with me 18 years ago, telling me how much the medicine is still working in his life and expressing his gratitude for the treatment he received with it 18 years ago. And he's not had ayahuasca since. That gives you an idea of the
Just
enduring
one time
benefits and
he
qualities
was
that
he's still
one can realize from it.
like good after 18 years. In the memory of John Howard Lawler. I don't know who that is, but rest in peace, mighty. Sound design and additional music. Who was the visual guy? A film by Gavin Hoffman. Amazing film, Gavin. Oh, it's his channel. Gav Hoff. Yeah, it's his channel. Okay. Round of applause for Gavin. Amazing documentary. Sound design, additional music. Music was alright. Liam. Cast, yes. The protagonist. Oh, bro, they didn't show us the visual guy. Stock footage. No. All of that was stock footage? And no, right? Some of it was definitely shot for this particular documentary. I don't know what was stock footage. I was just enjoying it too much. References, okay. Thanks to all these people. Final thoughts? Yeah, this was good. I really fucking enjoyed it. Great job of Gavin Hoffman. Incredible fucking dude. I'm gonna comment telling him how fucking amazing this documentary is. This was an amazing documentary. Hope you don't mind me reacting to it. Sorry, kinda stealing your content, but what an amazing experience. Experience. I'm fucking up the spelling. Experience, yeah. Love the way it was shot and the artistic choices. for the visuals were insane. Definitely, what's definitely? Definitely? What's the spelling of definite? Definitely. Huh? Of course. Of course. I'm replacing definitely with of course. Of course. Oh, you guys deserves get all those words. Of course, you guys got those all. Of course, you guys got all those awards. All deserving. If you don't like me reacting, maybe you know what? I'm not gonna put that in. I was gonna say if you guys don't like me reacting to this, just let me know. I will cut it down or do something. But I guess that's too much. Too much. Yeah. Yep. Anyways, awesome work. That's where I should end it. Yeah. Anyways, awesome work. Boom. Yeah, thank you so much. That bro, this I forgot how late this is, and I didn't turn on the lights. It's almost past evening. Oh, bro, this was long. This was only an hour-long documentary, but I have been recording for an hour 49 minutes. That's how much I yapped into this documentary, between this documentary. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing this kind of shit a lot. So yeah, if you wanna, bruh, outro, come on. I'm good at this. Yeah, comment down if you want me to watch something that you wanna watch with me. I have no idea what I'm fucking saying, but you got this, right? Comment down something that you want me to watch and I will do it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.